Hello and welcome to the Whirly Bloke channel. Today I'll be showing you how I upgraded the onboard receiver on this Eachine Cinecan for an FrSky XM Plus, how to add a buzzer and some tweaks to the tune to get rid of the yaw washout. To get this apart, there's just 3 screws, one here and one on the front. Let's just get those off. To get this apart, you don't need to unclip all these cables, but just be very careful not to stretch them or get any kinks in them. You need to undo these 4 screws holding the stack in place. And now those are off, you can just carefully lift that out of the way, making sure you don't kink any of the cables, particularly the camera. Now I've got an FrSky XM Plus receiver and the buzzer connected. And you can see here buzzer minus, buzzer plus, and the IRX1 connection is the inverted S-bus input on the Crazy BF4 V3. From the diagram, we've got IRX1, which is the inverted input for S-bus, which I've soldered on here with a white wire. And then I've picked up the power for the XM Plus from the 5 volts and the ground that are down here. They're the only 2 convenient ones that are on this board. There's already a couple of power wires on here which are powering the Tarsia DVR board. So this is a little bit fiddly down here. And we can see we've got the XM Plus there, and I'm going to be tucking that down underneath the frame with some heat shrink on it. I've also wired in this micro buzzer here across buzz minus and buzz plus. So all I've got to do is get some heat shrink on here, get some hot glue on these connections just so they don't go anywhere whilst we're flying. That would be a bit painful, and get everything buttoned up and configured in Betaflight. There's one last small change that you will need to make. We've hijacked the UART 1 for the XM Plus S-bus, and we have to use that pin because it's the only one that's inverted and it's the only one that will work on S-bus. And the previous configuration for this board was using UART 1 for smart audio. And this is the smart audio line, which was previously running from TX1 down here, this pin that's got nothing on it at the moment, and it was connected to the green wire. Because we've swapped things over, there's no real way you can change this in Betaflight configuration, so what you simply have to do is unsolder the green wire from that pad there, which you'll see from this diagram up here is labelled TX1, and solder it to the last pad down here, which is TX2. And then in Betaflight you can just use UART 2 as your smart audio and everything will work perfectly. It's a little bit fiddly to get this in here, and to be honest, if I was going to buy this again, I would buy it with the no receiver option, and I'll just plug my own XM Plus in and wire it up like this. It would be much easier. So I've got everything back together. The XM Plus tucks away quite nicely under here. You're not going to have to fix this down, and just make sure that these wires, which I've routed down round between the frame and the PCB, are well clear. They're on this side of the duct deliberately so they're not going to get hit by props, and there's room for the antennas to run up the side here again on the other side of the duct so that it's not going to get struck by a prop. And then I've just used a simple tie wrap on the top. The buzzer, there's plenty of room up the top here. You can just take the leads round and tuck the buzzer up the side. So that's not too bad. The other thing to watch out for is make sure that you get the Wi-Fi aerial for the Tarsia connected back on the front here. And also make sure that these 2 self-tapping bolt screws at the side are pretty well done up, because if you don't, you get some movement which will just lead to jello in your footage. which none of us want. Now, one of the things I did before I actually fitted this was to pre-bind this XM Plus to my transmitter. It's just much easier to do it when it's out of the frame. And you can see I've covered this in heat shrink, and I've got two small cutouts, if you can see those, one for the bind button and one so I can see the LEDs. So we're ready to go. Let's go over to Betaflight. And there's a few things you're going to have to change. So we go to ports. We're going to use UART 1 for our serial RX. So we'll disable that and switch that over to smart audio. Save and reboot. So if we go back into Betaflight and check our ports, that's good. Configuration is saved correctly, and just go to the receiver tab, and now we've got 16 channels. And let's, yep, if I waggle the sticks around on my transmitter, I've got throttle, I've got yaw, I've got pitch, and I've got roll, and all the switches work. Excellent. So let me just check. Yes, we've got the RSSI set, and we can see RSSI is coming off the XM Plus, which is a good thing. And if we go over to the OSD, I've got RSSI turned on, which is good. Warnings, I'm going to make that 35. Perfect. And the last thing we need to do is just configure this so it works correctly on failsafe. Go to failsafe, and we need AUX 12, which is being used for RSSI. Don't leave it at hold. We will set that to 1000, which in RC time block terms is 0. Reconnect, and let's just check this. So if we look up here, RSSI is flickering around the high 80s. If I turn my transmitter off, it goes back to 0. That's what I expect. Awesome. So now hopefully I should have a good range on this. Now I've flown quite a few packs on this now, and I've found a couple of tweaks that are the first step towards getting quite a good tune on this. The first one is the motor idle throttle value. This was set by default to 5.5, and I've gradually tweaked this up to 7.5. It may need to go a little bit further, but this stops the yaw washout. There's still a tiny little bit, but it's actually quite good, so this may go up a little bit higher yet. Next thing is the PIDs. Taking the P up 2 points from 50 to 52 on roll and pitch has improved things, and I can't see as much prop wash now, and these are my expo settings. I like to have a reasonable amount of expo, and they may need to go up a little bit higher. It's an ongoing process as normal. So those are the settings which I use. If you want to copy them, feel free, but as usual, tune to suit your own style of flying. As usual, thanks for watching, and if you found that useful, give me a thumbs up and leave a comment. And if it's your first visit, then please consider subscribing to the channel for updates. I'll see you next time.